So, welcome to our Facebook Live. We have with us the Surrey County Council Cabinet, minus one, I think. What I'll do is I'll hand over to Tim Oliver just to do an intro, and I would also like each Cabinet member to introduce themselves and what they do. So we'll start with Tim Oliver, the leader, please.
Thanks very much, Paul, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Facebook Live session with the Cabinet. It's an opportunity for you to ask us any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. If we can't answer them today, this evening, for whatever reason, then we will come back to you. So please put the question in the chat, and we'll pick that up. I'll let the Cabinet introduce themselves, and then Paul, I'll just make a few opening comments if that's okay.
Great. Okay, so let's start with Becky Rush, please. I'm just going to go in the order of the people that are on my screen. So we'll start with Becky. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Becky Rush. I'm the Deputy Cabinet Member for Finance.
Thank you very much. Mary Lewis.
Good evening, everyone. Mary Lewis, I'm the Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Families Wellbeing.
Lovely, thank you very much. Natalie.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Bramhall, and I'm the Cabinet Member for Environment and Climate Change.
Okay, and Marissa, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marissa Heath. I'm Deputy Cabinet Member for People, and my main focus has been on registration. So if you've got any questions about weddings and birth registrations, ask me, and also transitions.
Okay, thank you very much. And Julie Isles.
Good evening, thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Julie Isles, I'm the lead portfolio holder for all age learning. So it's education, schools, special needs, transport, libraries, culture.
Wonderful, thank you. Mark.
Good evening, I'm Mark Newsy. I'm the Deputy Cabinet Member to the Leader.
Thank you. And Denise.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Denise Turner-Stewart, Cabinet Member for Communities, covering fire and rescue, trading standards, emergency management, voluntary community and faith sector, community safety. Thank you.
Okay, and Alison, please.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Alison Griffiths. I'm currently Deputy Cabinet Member for Place, and I also cross over into health.
Okay, Matt.
Good evening, I'm Matt Furness. I'm the Cabinet Member for Transport, and that covers everything from walking to planes.
Thank you. Sinead.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening. I'm Sinead Mooney, Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care and Public Health. Thank you.
Okay, Mel.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Mel Few. I'm Cabinet Member for Finance and Property.
Cool. And Edward.
Good evening. Deputy Cabinet Member for Property.
Thank you. That's Edward Hawkins. Thank you very much. Okay. And sorry, Tim, did you want to then do an intro?
Yeah, if that's okay, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a few sort of opening comments. I mean, obviously, we're still in the midst of the pandemic, but hopefully there's been some good news recently in relation to the vaccines. However, until then, obviously, be grateful to all the residents that have, really taken very seriously the restrictions and indeed the three standard rules around washing your hands, keeping a distance, safe distance, and wearing face coverings where appropriate. I'm afraid we're going to have to continue to do that, and by the look of it, through until well into next year. Across Surrey, and there may be some questions on this, the numbers have spiked up and down in different boroughs. There is absolutely no logic, I have to say, or explanation as to why some boroughs have seen higher numbers of COVID positive than others. I know that there's a view that it's caused by students that are having the test at university and giving their home parents' address at home. That I think that probably accounts for about 10%, but not significant, sufficiently significant to alter the numbers. I'm pleased to say that actually over the last few days we've started to see those numbers drop a little bit, but we're waiting to find out on Thursday what tier Surrey will be put into. it's not clear at the moment whether it will be done on a district or borough basis or across the whole of the county. I suspect the latter, but we'll need to wait to see. This evening, I'm sure we'll have a wide variety of questions, but just to explain the 4 priority areas that the county now is now focused on. We have the 2030 vision, which is a vision that is owned and contributed to by residents and businesses and the voluntary charitable faith sector, district and boroughs and so on. And in the light of COVID, we have done a considerable amount of work to understand the impact that it's had on residents and our communities. And it has, of course, been disproportionate for different parts of the community. So the 4 areas that we are now very much focused on is the economy. That is, I think, the single biggest issue for most residents now, to get our economy working again, to get people back into work, to get our businesses up and running. And we will do all that we can to support individuals and our businesses and do what we can to help our high streets. The second big area is tackling health inequality. That is hugely important, and COVID-19 has really highlighted some of the real areas where people have experienced real health issues, and I'm afraid including a significant growth in mental health issues. The third one is enabling a greener future, and there's lots of good work there in terms of work that we're doing to meet our 2050 targets of being carbon neutral. And then finally, it's all about engaging with communities, whether that's the Your Fund Surrey, which I suspect we will pick up on a bit later, the library transformations and so on. So those are the big 4 areas, a lot of work happening with each of those, not just with this authority, but also with our partners. But it'd be good to hear what views residents have, things that are going well and things that you think we can do better. So over to you, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's have a look. Let's dive straight into this then. We've got quite a few people watching live already. If you are watching this live, by the way, could I ask you to share this to any local groups that you belong to and to your own timeline, just so that the whole community can benefit from the answers that our cabinet members give. You are talking to the most senior politicians for Surrey County Council. If these guys can't answer it, no one can. So do share it, and if you've got any questions, stick it in the comments there and we will get to it. Now, we've already had quite a lot of questions in advance, and some questions are already coming in as well from the live stream. So let's get straight to it. So the first question: what are the key priorities for Surrey County Council as we come out of this pandemic over the coming months? And I suppose that's Tim, is it?
Well, I think, Paul, I've sort of highlighted the key areas, the economy, the health equalities, greener future, and doing more work within the communities and so on. So I think that breaks down into a whole series of different areas. So I think probably we'll pick that up as we go through the evening, but happy to expand on any particular area if people wish me to.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so the next one is, I know families who have children with special educational needs who are taken to schools which are a long way away. What are you doing about this? Who's going to take that?
It's going to be me, Paul.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're making a really large investment in some specialist places closer to home, because I'll put this into context so that people understand how much the call is on the services. We have currently about 10,600 odd pupils with an education healthcare plan in the county. And that means that they have some requirement or disability or speech and language or communication issue, which means they attend specialist settings. Now, that's a huge number of places. At the minute, we're too reliant on schools that are too far away from where these children live. So we're bringing a massive investment into it, and we're delivering over the next 5 years almost 900 of our own maintained places. So that will mean that these children can go to school nearer to where they live. They can be in closer touch with the community, And obviously it reduces the travel time and the transport in getting to those settings. And that's good for our greener agenda as well. But most of all, it's best for the children to be educated closer to where they are.
Okay, thank you for that. Lovely. So let's have a look here. The next question. I grew up in care and I found it very tough when I just left to get on with life on my own at 18. I don't know how young people in Surrey cope with the cost of housing here. So what are you doing to support people like me?
Well, I think that's going to be one for me.
Okay, go ahead.
Responsible for children's social care, and I'm chair of the corporate parenting board, where we take care of the 700 children growing up in care in Surrey, and also, sorry, the 1,000 children growing up in Surrey and 700 care leavers. So first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the truth of what you say. It's really hard for care leavers who at 18 have to take on a lot more responsibility than most 18-year-olds would ever have. And I'm very aware of that. So in the current administration, in the last few years at the County Council, we've taken some very practical steps to support our care leavers, because moral support's great and the support of a personal assistant. But if you've got to try and find somewhere to live and it's so expensive in Surrey and the South East in general, we need to give you a helping hand. So we agreed in this council that we would exempt our care leavers from council tax. That's the Surrey County Council part of the council tax they pay, in addition to having to pay rent and so on. So I'm very pleased to say that we don't charge any Surrey County Council council tax up to the age of 25 for our care leavers. And we've been really strongly encouraging our district and borough colleagues to do the same, because there are 11 district and boroughs in Surrey all charging council tax as well. And 8 districts and boroughs have joined in with this, and they don't charge care leavers either. So that's fantastic news. But as you will have noticed, that means there are 3 local boroughs or districts. And I don't normally say exactly where these are, but I will tonight, because I'd like you residents to encourage them to join in. So if you're in Epsom and Ewell, or in Tandridge, or in Waverley, please encourage your councillors to support us, to support the care leavers by exempting them from council tax. And I'm very pleased that our Conservative administration at the county has already done this. And as I say, 8 other districts and boroughs, but we aren't in control in those 3 districts and boroughs. It's other parties there who are in control, and we need the residents to help get the support. But we've also taken a further initiative in the last few weeks, and we've started to build our own accommodation for care leavers that we can rent them, really good, fit for purpose flats for them for starting their lives of independence. And the one that we're building now that's already been agreed is going to be in Caterham Hill, and it will be attached to a new library building we're doing there. The really crucial thing about this is it's the start of a new initiative. So whenever we're re-providing facilities like libraries or other council buildings, we'll put some care leaver accommodation there as well, if it's in a suitable location. So those are practical steps we're taking to support care leavers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary. Now let's get to the next question. And if you're watching this live, could I encourage you, please, to, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments there, but also share this to your timeline and any local groups that you belong to. We're broadcasting right across Surrey. Let everybody benefit from the answers that our cabinet members give, and there's no question too difficult. So put it in the comments there. We'll do our best to get those answered. So the next question, let's have a look here. What is being done to make sure that Surrey's young people can be supported with mental health issues following the COVID crisis? There's been a lot of publicity about how lockdown has made things difficult for them. Who's going to take that?
Well, you're back to me again, Paul. So
okay.
I'm going to tackle that one. I think the leader mentioned in his introduction that we're aware that COVID-19 has had an adverse effect on everyone's mental health in some form or another. It's really been taxing for our resilience, hasn't it?
It has. Mary, could I ask you to turn your camera on, please?
Sorry, Paul. I don't know what happened there. I must.
That's all right. All right.
Touched it. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, we're very aware of that. And in fact, the County Councils Network has released some research today saying that all county councils are receiving more contacts about mental health. So we're not alone in that. And at the moment, members are genuinely concerned about the quality of service that's being provided to our young people. And we're in the middle of a process for a new contract for the child and adolescent mental health services. And we're determined that it's going to be a better service when the new contract starts. So the whole council unanimously agreed that we should adopt the Thrive model for children and adolescent mental health, which means intervening early, focusing on resilience and stopping problems, nipping them right in the bud when giving young people the help they need early on. And that's going to be the basis of our new CAMHS contract. And I'm really, really pleased that I've had the support, cross-party support of the whole council in going for that new model. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mary. So let's get to the next question, which is what can Surrey County Council do about the possibility of the Good Shepherd Trust closing the Weald Infant School? Where are South Homewood and Bear Green children supposed to go? I thought the council declared climate emergency and wanted people walking and cycling to school, not driving them everywhere. Is that Julie, I think?
It is, Paul. So we are obviously aware of this consultation, but it isn't managed by the county council. The Good Shepherd Trust is an academy trust, and they are bound by regulations to undertake a consultation on any significant change that they wish to make. In the case of the Weald, this is a consultation on the change of age range. The Trust have emphasised, and I have been in touch with them, that this is purely a consultation, no decision has been made, and they want to be as open and as transparent as possible. I know that they have sent out to a whole raft of consultees and interested parties. And if they do decide to proceed with the proposal, then they will have to make any business case to the Department of Education, because I'm afraid that's where it sits. But they have to demonstrate that it's been undertaken with all of those who could be affected by any of these changes. So we will continue to monitor that with them.
Thank you very much, Julie. Lovely. Okay, so let's get to the next question. What is Surrey County Council doing to ensure that the benefits of reduced carbon emissions that we had in lockdown continues in the future? Who'd like to take that? I assume that's Natalie. Yeah, go ahead, Natalie. If you can unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your question. What are we doing? Well, actually, we haven't really had those figures back in yet. As there's always a delay coming through. But today, Councillor Furness, Matt, took through a really, really good cabinet paper. So we're investing, I think it's 49 million into low carbon and hydrogen, and electric buses that are going to come in across Surrey. And I'm particularly pleased that we're going to be looking at hydrogen vehicles, buses coming in for Reigate, Banstead and Redhill, being really parochial. So that's one thing we're doing. Another thing that we're doing is it's Tree Week from the 28th of November. And as you know, we are facilitating the planting of 1.2 million trees in Surrey, even though we are the most wooded county in the country. So we're giving away 500 trees to schools and 240 hedgerow packs to 95 schools in the area, so they can plant them around their boundary. So that will help with any carbon emissions going into the schools. So we're working on it, and you know, climate change and the green agenda is a massive part of what Surrey are doing. We're putting a lot of money into it, and we really hope to be at the forefront of county councils taking this forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for that. Now, the next question is a very simple, direct question. How can 2% council tax increase be justified in such difficult times when many families are struggling? Who'd like to take that? Mel, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take that. Well, quite frankly, the 1.99%, actually, to be precisely correct, will generate about 17 million over the year. You must remember that adult social care and children's services, which we're responsible for, basically cost us over 1.7 million a day to run. So that's before we start looking at filling any potholes, before we start giving trees away, etc., etc. So fundamentally, the council tax of 1.99 is what we have put in our budgets, and that obviously is dependent on what the government says coming up in its settlement announcement, which we should get before Christmas. If the government is very generous, we might be able to not put in a council tax increase, but as you heard from Julie earlier on, the costs of looking after children are rising dramatically, special education needs are rising, and of course, adult social care, you don't have to go far without hearing something on the radio or television about care homes and the problems we have with the elderly. So I'm afraid the 1.99 is the minimum that we would be able to get away with to fund these ongoing services.
Thanks for that, Mel. Okay, now if you are watching this live, could I just remind you to share this to any local groups that you belong to and your own timeline. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments there because we'd love to get our cabinet members here to answer them for you. So, okay, the next question. Why has Surrey decided to stop Prudential Ride when you got 58% in favour of it on your consultation? Who is going to take that? Denise, go ahead.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for the question. So 58% represented people from outside of Surrey as well as Surrey residents. It was the actual figure from Surrey residents was 53%. So based on that result, negotiations had been ongoing for some time already, going back to August of last year. We then embarked on further discussions with Prudential Ride London organisers around securing a better deal for Surrey residents, given that almost 50% of Surrey residents were opposed to the event. So we were seeking to secure funding for primary school cycle training for all of our primary school pupils so that they were equipped when they left primary school to be independent. And obviously we're promoting cycling. You've heard a lot about that from my colleagues. That unfortunately wasn't successful. And those discussions were very, very lengthy and very determined. And we really did feel that we did everything we could to try to get a satisfactory return for our residents in return for committing to a further 5 years. At some point, they actually wanted 10 years. And we just felt that at this time, in the absence of any grant funding, because of the inability to host the event this year because of COVID, there would be a delay in that funding coming through for charities for the foreseeable future. So it was very difficult to actually justify that commitment in terms of what we could get in return. But what we are doing is looking to host and to manage and to facilitate residents to have local fundraising events. And we've already had inquiries from residents to that effect, people looking to host their own local events, obviously when it's safe to do so, that can be held safely. So we're really looking forward to seeing much more community activity and promoting cycling in Surrey, as you will see with the conversations with my colleagues. So thank you for the question.
Thanks, Denise. Thanks for that. Okay, so let's move to the next question. What was the decision regarding the electric charging points? Who will pay for it? If once fully charged, the car can drive average 200 miles. What happens then? I think that would be Natalie again. No?
Right, might be me, Paul.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's absolutely fine. So with the electric charging points, we're putting 80 charge points in as part of a pilot. We're in 4 boroughs. Those are Guildford, Waverley, Woking and Spelthorne. We're currently out to consultation. Each borough will get 20 charge points in each area. We are pushing heavily with KPMG are doing a number of bits of work for us around where we can get effectively the biggest bang for our buck on charging across Surrey. It may not necessarily always be charging points. It may be partnering with other companies. All of these points will be commercially operated because they are run by a number of the big firms around the country. customers will have to pay at those, but we are seeing what we can do, and we're putting a lot of our money into on-street charging, and also seeing about sort of parade shops and destinations, and that's where the County Council is currently focusing its investment for where people are arriving at destinations, charging up and moving on. But by getting 80 charge points across 4 boroughs in Surrey, we'll be well on our way to the government's commitment of having one every 20 to 30 miles. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. And by the way, if you're watching live, you've just joined us, do put your questions in the comments there, and we'll do our best to get the Cabinet to answer those for you. So the next question is, who helps pensioners who are not on benefits, as we are not eligible for help from food banks and so on? Our income is not as much as the bills and our savings are draining. How can you help us? Who's going to take that? Don't all jump at once. Yeah, Sinead, go ahead.
Thank you, Paul. I am aware, and thank you very much for that question. I am aware that there is numerous offers of help from our district and borough colleagues. And so I would recommend that anybody who feels that they are in need and in advice, particularly around benefits and general help and assistance, I would direct you to your borough or district council in the first instance. There is also adult social care at Surrey County Council. So if you feel that you may have support needs or care needs, please do get in touch with the contact centre, and we can certainly ensure that we engage with you and assess to see if we can assist in any way. I hope that's helpful.
It is. Thank you very much. So let me just remind everybody, if you're watching, to put your comments, your questions in the comments there. And also, please do share this to any local groups you belong to, so that everybody can benefit from the answers our Cabinet members give. Now, let's have a look at the next question. Do you know yet what COVID vaccination plans are going to be? Who's going to take that? That's Sinead again, isn't it? Or is it the leader?
Well, we'll both have a go at this, actually.
Go on then.
We're setting up around the county mass vaccination centres. That's been coordinated by CSH, and there'll also be obviously vaccinations at GP surgeries and home visits. So busily sort of getting that in place, recruiting some additional staff to support that. So I think we are, and the GP community is very far advanced, much further advanced than a lot of other locations, as I understand it. So we're ready to go. I mean, we were expecting to receive vaccine in the early part of December. That may or may not be the case, but it's going to be, if from what we understand from government, that we will get something in December. So we're ready to go. I mean, there will be a lot of communication to residents about how they can access that. There is a priority order for that, which I'm sure you've seen, starting with the vulnerable elderly and then frontline care home staff and so on. But once the vaccine has been approved, whichever vaccine it is that's approved first of all, then we are ready to go.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so how do we protect young people against drugs and county lines? Who would like to take that?
Well,
Denise.
It probably falls to a mix of me and Mary, Paul, because you know, we don't do this in isolation. There's a lot of work goes in through our outreach services, our schools, mental health professionals. So it really is a sort of team effort, and also obviously some engagement from the voluntary sector.
Okay.
Mary can also speak to that in terms of the care that goes into it.
Okay, Mary.
Thank you very much. One of the things that we've set up in the restructure of our children's services is a targeted support for adolescents, a whole service to do that. And We will, it's a really good new service working, as Julie said, in collaboration with the police and others. And if we know that youngsters are getting themselves into serious trouble, they will be, there's different levels of support they can have, but it's clearly targeted with experts who can help them to disentangle themselves from gangs and so on. So rest assured, it has got our attention.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
May I just add to that, Paul? Sorry.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
I mean, this crosses into Julie's area, of course, but we are working with schools to reduce exclusions, because it's a known fact that in tackling exclusions, you can reduce the propensity of a young person to be involved in this kind of activity. So our community safety colleagues, our community safety service at Surrey County Council are very, very committed to that work at the moment. And I just had an update today. So if there's any update required on that, I can provide that in writing. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Okay, so let's go to the next question. How can Bear Green in Mole Valley get average speed cameras installed on the A24? Matt, is that you?
That will be me. Yes. No, thank you for the question. So what we do with average speed cameras, we prioritise them on stretches of road which have a serious history of collisions, and where we do have evidence that there is endemic speeding. So we work very closely with Surrey Police on enforcement, making sure that we get the right type of enforcement at the right location. So at the moment, the A24 Bear Green isn't prioritised for average speed cameras, but that we are pushing a lot of average speed cameras in around the county. So the next set that are going in, where we do have not only speeding, but a serious history of collisions. So we've got the A31, the Hogs Back, the Purbright Bends, which sort of Midship Place Road, Goyle Road, Gatemouth Road near Purbright. And these two are in the greatest need of speed control. We don't at the moment, which I'm very pleased to say, have a large number of collisions compared with other roads on the A24 between Dorking and Bear Green. So there's no immediate plans to introduce anything, but we are monitoring with Surrey Police anything that does happen on this stretch, and we will step in if needs be and do anything we need to make the road safer with our partners at Surrey Police, including enforcement.
Great, thanks for that, Matt. Lovely. Now, if you're watching the live stream and you have a question for our cabinet members, please put it in the comments there, and we'll get those answered for you. And make sure you do share this to your timeline and any local groups that you belong to. We are broadcasting right across Surrey right now. We do want to hear your questions. No question too difficult. So let's have a look here. It is fantastic that Surrey County Council is moving to Reigate. Will we be seeing improved services for residents in the east of Surrey to complement the council's move to the new civic heart of Surrey in Reigate? Obviously, somebody very proud that the county hall is moving to Reigate. So who wants to take that?
I'll start, Paul, if you like.
Yeah.
Excellent news. So we will have moved out of Kingston at the end of this year. So that will be some 50 years or so since the county headquarters have been actually in the centre of, or in the county itself. So that's Woodhatch, as it's called, is being set up and will go live from the beginning of January. We will be putting on transport from the train stations to the building for those residents that want to use that. Obviously, there'll be the bicycles, and it's very walkable actually. I think it is a statement in terms of our intent to use, I'm afraid, that awful phrase, but to level up the economy across Surrey. 2/3 of the value, or 2/3 of the wealth in this county is generated in the west, and only 1/3 in the east. And we really do need to provide more support to the east of the county. So the moving our own civic heart there is a good start, and I hope that will be a launch pad for further support. There are a number of sort of working groups that are looking at the whole of the economy across the county, and there's an economic strategy that will come to Cabinet next month. There's some specific work that's being done with Reigate and Banstead Borough Council and the two members of Parliament down there. And you know, and that's absolutely what we want to do. I mean, it's you know, it's a great setting. I mean, just to broaden that answer out slightly, our intention is to create 4 main hubs around the county: north, south, east, and west, where residents will be able to access the services without travelling necessarily to Reigate. And as part of the library transformation, we will also turn those into information centres. So this is to make it accessible. There are, you know, a couple of 100,000 of Surrey residents that are so-called digitally excluded. They don't access information either through choice or otherwise. But you know, they don't access their information on the internet. So it's hugely important that you know, there's those physical buildings that they can walk into, and indeed will continue to communicate in hard copy form as well.
Great, thank you very much for that, Tim. Let's take the next question. Okay, what criteria will the applications for grants from the Communities Fund be decided? I think this one's for Mark.
Thanks, Paul. Well, that's quite a wide-scoping question. Fundamentally, the type of projects we're looking for are projects that are going to enhance the communities where you live. They're going to make lives better for residents and for people visiting the various areas where these projects hopefully are going to come up. Criteria-wise, it's far-reaching. I think that the best thing to do is to look onto the website. It's all very colourful, very interactive. It's been well used. It's only been week 1, and you can see all the different projects starting to appear on there. We're going to look at every single one of them individually. We're going to feed back to people, and obviously a lot of those ideas are going to need expanding. So don't get too het up at the moment with the will it qualify, won't it qualify. Get your idea on there, speak to your local county councillor who can give you some advice and some help on how to do it, but don't put barriers in place. Get the idea up there, let other people have a look at it, because even if it's not the right thing or the right time to do that, there may be someone else who can help you with it, or something else that we're doing in the same area that you can join in with. So we'd rather hear about it than not hear about it. So don't get too het up with all the technicalities at the moment. In the initial stages, it's about having some fun with the idea, talking to your local residents, the community, getting some life into it, getting people behind it, and then we'll help take it forward with the local county councillor, whoever that is, and then we'll see what we can make happen. But it's incredibly exciting, and I'm really glad someone brought the question up. Thank you.
Yeah, it is exciting. In fact, we're having a community brainstorm, an online community brainstorm tomorrow night to look at ideas to access the funds. So it is exciting. Okay, so the next question. Okay, is Surrey County Council cutting its youth services? Who wants to take that? I think that's Mary.
Paul.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. The decision that we've taken is, as I mentioned earlier, to expand our targeted youth support so that we can really tackle some of the serious issues for young people and the ones that really get them into trouble. So we've got a targeted youth support service, which is helping with the kind of things like county lines that were mentioned earlier. We also have a specialist adolescent safeguarding service. So if kids are on the edge of coming into care, that we can really help and support them and their families so they can be kept safely at home. While we're doing this more targeted work with young people who really need our support, we've been acting as enablers by offering our existing youth centres to the voluntary community faith sector, where they can deliver open access youth work. And we've had a fantastic uptake for this. I mean, in 2021, I think those youth centres are going to be alive and full of action in a way that they haven't been for a long time. But as you can imagine, it's been hampered at the moment by COVID. Only small groups of people have been allowed to meet, and young people over the age of 11 and youth workers have been expected to wear masks, which has proved to be quite off-putting for young people with youth activities. So 2021 is going to be the year of delivery from those youth centres. It's going to be great. lots of voluntary sector activity, while the council gets on delivering the things that it really needs to do for young people, which is those targeted services that can help solve some of the difficult social issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Excellent. Now, if you're watching the live stream and you've just joined, if you'd like to ask the Cabinet a question, stick it in the comments there. We'll do our best to get those answered for you. We've got about 20 minutes to go. Still quite a few questions coming in. So the next question is, many Surrey residents are concerned that Surrey County Council are trying to push through their vision of one unitary authority for the county. What will you do to ensure that residents are consulted on this major change in local democracy? Who is going to take that?
I'll take that, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for the question. We are acutely aware that the council tax is your money. It's paid by residents and it's there to deliver services to you that you can access. We have 12 councils across Surrey, so one county council whose main responsibility is for delivering social care for adults and for children, and highways and libraries and so on. And then we have 11 district and borough councils whose main responsibility is for planning and for curbside waste collection. Obviously, all councils do other things. And there is a cost to running 12 separate structures with 12 chief executives, 12 finance directors, and so on. So it was the intention of the government earlier in the year to look at ways in which they could streamline local government. Many residents, the surveys that we did of residents, many of them were confused as to who had what responsibility. So this was looking at ways in which we could simplify that and at the same time make some savings in the cost of delivery and put those savings back into frontline services. In the event, the government has decided that it doesn't want or doesn't have the capacity to take forward that agenda at the moment. And so there will be no pursuit of an application, no business case submitted to government for a unitary authority. Now, the government may, at some point in the future, kind of reopen that exercise. But as far as Surrey is concerned, that isn't something that we are now going to pursue.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, the next question, I'm pretty sure is for Matt, although I do know that Edward has been heavily involved with this because it's his county division. So can you advise me and the 2,000 plus petition signatories when Surrey County Council will look to complete the Pelican zebra crossing at Ravenscote Junior School in Frimley? Go ahead, Matt. You're muted.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you very much. Yes, so there is, I know, something coming to the local committee, and Edward wants to come in on this one as well. But currently, unless the local committee says otherwise, there aren't actually any plans to introduce a zebra or pelican crossing outside the school. We have full consideration of all potential options, which I know the local committee will look at. A traffic calming scheme and an enhanced informal crossing point was introduced at this location to reduce vehicle speeds. This has proved beneficial here and in many other areas of the county. This has gone through sort of safety checks and everything else, but there is we don't believe at this point that there is any more that is needed. But I know Edward and the local committee may have a different view, but they get to prioritise, because that's the point of local committees, they get to prioritise what the local area wants and what they wish to fund. So Edward, I'm sure you'll...
Yeah, Edward, did you want to just say a few words?
Only a few. Thank you very much. Yeah, I promoted the original table and traffic calming measures outside the school, and I have continued to work with the originator of the petition. I'm a jolly guy idea who asked the question. Thank you for coming in on this. And I will continue to work with residents and the chairman of the local area committee, namely Paul Deach, to persuade and that we need to continue to a zebra crossing, not a pelican crossing, but to a zebra crossing, to match those close by and by Heather Ridge School, and look for ways in which this can be funded. Now, Paul and I have had a number of conversations on this, and it will come to the next local area committee, and we will, I can assure everybody that's listening, I will continue to push hard, and my fellow colleagues are rapidly becoming fed up with me pushing this, but I will continue to push it. So I think that's best I leave it at that, but thank you very much for the opportunity to make that comment.
Yeah, and I can confirm that Edward regularly communicates with me about this. So, okay, let's get on to the next question. How can you declare a climate emergency and still allow oil drilling in Dunsfold? Who's going to take that? Natalie, go ahead.
Yeah, hello, thank you for your question. We are reviewing our waste and mineral plans. I took a message, that's somebody put something on the screen there. I took a paper through Cabinet today to say that Surrey County Council is reviewing all our waste and mineral sites throughout the county. However, oil and gas exploration and drilling are governed by the government, central government. They set out clear rules to our planning department, and unfortunately we have to take notice of them. Not that sometimes the planning committee does, however. So our officers would put forward a recommendation to approve, but it is with our planning committee. They can decide that they don't want to approve it, as they did with Dunsfold. Unfortunately, until those rules are changed at central government, we have to abide by them. But I can assure you, I am regularly lobbying ministers to get those rules looked at and changed.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Natalie. So let's have a look at the next question. Will Surrey switch the street lights back on across the county once the lights are replaced with energy efficient bulbs? Funnily enough, that's a question I want to ask at the scrutiny committee soon. So who's going to take that?
I'll take that one, Paul.
Okay,
so at the moment, we're currently rolling out, and you can see it on an interactive map on the website, our investment into LED lights. We currently still do switch them off, and we do that not only to save money, but also our carbon footprint as well, as the climate change agenda is very much at the top of everyone's minds. We do turn them on occasionally in certain areas, and there are set routes. So if between train stations and universities, for example, or key routes that there is a lot of late night traffic, those lights do already stay on. And if the police make a request to us for any reason where they believe that the lighting actually will have an impact on reducing crime, we do turn them back on there at those requests for short periods. At the moment, though, there is no plans to go back to all night having the lights on. That's because the current programming has been working very well. I know that a number of people quite like some of the, maybe it's more the reassurance, but we are actually saving money and carbon by doing this. And actually, I think people are getting very used to actually having some darker skies for just those few hours in the very early hours of the morning.
I was going to say, Matt, if I could, that quite a lot of residents do write in to say that they appreciate the night sky, and that those residents that live in rural areas, they've chosen Surrey for the greenness, and they've chosen Surrey because you can see the stars and they know that wildlife appreciate having the darkness. So as with many things in local government, it's not one-sided, is it?
No, quite right. Thank you, Mary, for that. Okay, so if you're watching the live stream, could I ask you to put your questions in the comments there so that we can get the Cabinet to answer those for you? And if you could also share this to your timeline and any local groups you belong to, so everybody else can benefit from this too. So, okay, next question. There is a damaged wall in Stoneleigh Park in Epsom, which Surrey County Council say they do not have the money to repair. It is on a blind corner and is dangerous, so it is just going to be left as it is. Why is there no money for these dangerous places? Who wants to take that?
I'll go again, Paul.
Okay.
I'm not sure who has said that, because if there is something dangerous on the highway, it acts as an active emergency and we come out and sort it, usually in a few hours. So I'm not quite sure who's been going around saying we don't have any money on that. We've invested an additional £100 million over the next 5 years into highways. And actually the spend this year alone, because of a top up in government grants, has been about £96 million. And you can probably see that by the amount of road resurfacing that is going on. I'm actually getting complaints about the number of roads being resurfaced at the moment, so can't win. But we can get that sorted. So if someone wants to tell me who's said that and what the location is, we can get someone out to sort that. If it is a private wall, we will probably patch it and make it safe, and then it will be down to the private landowner to do the permanent repair. But if anything's on the carriageway and it's causing a danger, then we will come out and sort it as an emergency.
Great, thank you for that. Now, the next question was very topical very recently at the October half term, and I know that lots of community groups did some incredible work in the community on this issue. So the government have given councils the means to help free school meals families over Christmas, but it isn't clear how Surrey County Council is going to implement that. So can you say what Surrey is planning, and particularly how we can be sure that families in Surrey with younger children under 5 don't go hungry this winter? Who wants to take that?
So it's probably for me, Paul.
Okay, go ahead.
The winter funding package was a welcome announcement. There's obviously some detail in there. It isn't just about targeting pupils who are on free school meals. There are some families who are struggling who do not qualify for free school meals. And actually, if the parents have recently lost their jobs, then they wouldn't yet have gone through the eligibility checks on that either. What the winter funding package gives is funding not just for food, but also for heating, so that families who need this help aren't going without food or heat during the winter holidays. And we are currently working with our school leaders so that we know we can do this in the most effective way possible. And that will be, again, working through the districts and boroughs where there is a network of different arrangements across the different areas, and also with the voluntary community and faith sector, because like last time, they assisted with these efforts. So it is in train, will be there for the holidays, but the detail is currently being worked through because it was only quite a recent announcement.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Julie. Next question. Can Surrey County Council use their electric highway signage asking people not to throw litter out their cars? I get a lot of complaints about this too. Who wants to take that? Matt.
I can take that one, Paul. So we are putting a number of the signage on. I'll have a chat with the team because it is set what we can and cannot put on the signage. Some of it isn't actually ours and is run by Highways England, who deal with the motorways as like an advance notification. We are looking at new ways to tackle littering though. And there has been a company that has come onto our radar which actually uses artificial intelligence cameras to log the number plates and people actually throwing litter out of their windows on routes. So this would be something that we are looking at because the districts and boroughs help us keep the roads clear. It does cost the taxpayer a huge amount of money every year, and we are looking at ways of where we can tackle that. But you can call in if you do see someone doing it, dial in on the 101 number to the police, and they can take action as well.
You might want to start on the A331 with that, Matt, because it's horrendous down there. It really is. When are the numerous potholes and other sections of damaged road going to be repaired, and why was this not done while the roads were empty during lockdown? Now, we couldn't have a Q&A without a question about potholes. So go ahead, Matt.
I'm amazed it's lasted just 6 minutes before the end, Paul. Yes. Yeah. So as I said earlier, we are investing a huge amount of money into highways, and it's rather than just sort of managing the network, we are investing for the improvement with that 100 million extra going in. And this year we have been sort of overspending to get everything back in shape before the winter. we were working through both lockdowns. There was an initial pause of about just over a week in the first one, but the crews have been out through lockdown all the time, socially distanced and following safe measures, as we have been resurfacing all the roads that we can. I think since in the past 4 years, we will probably resurfaced just coming up to about sort of 16–17% of the entire network, and repairing the potholes as well. It's a little bit like sort of like the Forth Road Bridge. We'll constantly be doing this. So all I can do to say is we have put the investment in. We are trialing new innovation and new materials all the time. And I just encourage you, please do report them, because the sooner you report them, we can get them fixed and get that sorted.
Thanks for that. Now,
so I think it's just worth adding, just to put it into context, because I think people are always surprised. You know, there are 3,000 miles of roads across Surrey and 3,000 miles of pavements. You know, and we have about just under 7,000 vehicle movements a day on our roads. So the volume of traffic that we have in Surrey way exceeds, you know, pretty much any other county in this country, and yet we have received the same amount of funding per mile as everywhere else, and that is the challenge. You know, I think we've repaired 500 miles or so of road. You know, as Matt says, 100 million in. You know, that these are significant sums, but it is a major challenge. You know, I hope that you know, that the active travel schemes that we've started to implement across the county. I know not all residents are that happy with them, and obviously we won't make those permanent unless there is you know, a resident agreement. But I mean, the more that people can walk and cycle, you know, the less damage to the roads, and obviously you know, a significant reduction in carbon. So, but I think, you know, to be fair, we are investing heavily. There's a you know, we can only do so much, but always appreciate the potholes is always going to be a resident issue.
Yeah, thanks for that, Tim. Now, I'm going to ask the Cabinet members, because I want to make sure that we ask all the questions that I've had here. So we may go a little bit over time, if that's okay with everybody here. But also if you can keep your answers as brief as possible. So, next question. Suicide is on the rise in young men and teens. How is this how is this county council reaching out to this group? Who's going to take that? Mary, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I'll start, and it may be that others join in as well. The Surrey Safeguarding Children's Executive and Partnership have just done a thematic review into adolescent suicides and the reasons behind them. And this has been a really important and influential piece of work. And I was pleased to take it with a health colleague and the chair of that board to our own health and wellbeing board. And I think, you know, reading a review of the death of by suicide of adolescents who were growing up in our own county gives us all cause to think about what we might have done differently. It's a partnership effort to change the way that our county is and how it responds to young people and young men. So there is a strong focus on it. And last week we had, as part of our collective effort, a mental health summit with over 100 participants, where we thought about how we might tackle these sort of issues together differently. We also have a suicide prevention board, which my colleague Alison Griffiths is on, and I think perhaps she might like to tell you about some of the voluntary sector partners and others who work with us on this issue, because I know Alison's been an active member of that board.
Go ahead, Alison. Do you want to unmute yourself? There you go. It's okay.
Hi, thank you for the question. Yeah, I've been sitting on the board for about 2 years now. One of the main things we've been concentrating on at the moment is bereavement service. We have numbers are increasing in suicide at the moment, and it is a high percentage of men. So we're looking at Lucy Rayner. We're working with them very closely to provide help for people who have lost people due to suicide. There is a man's campaign. I'd love to, if you could email me, I'd love you to send you over the details. There's quite a lot going on. I wasn't prepared for the questions, so I do apologise.
Sure. That's all right. Well, actually, perhaps what you could do once the stream is over, if you can go back into the Facebook comments and perhaps put your email address in there, or if one of the team in the background is listening, if you can put Alison's email address in there so you can get in touch directly with her. I know she'd love to hear from you. So, okay, thanks very much for that. Let's get on to the next question. If we can ask you to keep your answers brief now, just so that we can motor through these. Does the Cabinet have the power to halt what appears to be almost unfettered housing development across the county? And if so, does it have the will to do so? I mean, I think we all as councillors get questions on development in our areas. It's something that residents don't want. Can somebody answer that?
I'll answer that, Matt. Paul, sorry. Yeah. I'm afraid the simple answer to that is no. I mean, the planning authority is the district and borough councils. You know, they're all in the process or have completed their local plans. You know, that it is the borough councils that the residents need to lobby. I'm afraid we have very limited planning powers, and it certainly doesn't extend to housing.
Okay, thank you for that. Lovely. So, do we have an indication what tiers the Surrey constituencies will be in after lockdown? Who wants to take that? We don't.
No, we don't. I mean, we were one of the boroughs was Elmbridge was in tier 2 before lockdown, and there were 3 other boroughs that were likely to go into tier 2 at that point. The numbers have changed since then. As I said at the beginning, they're dropping across the county, and you know, ranges from sort of 88, 90 per 100,000 to nearly 200 per 100,000. So I don't know. We will know. We will know on Thursday, but not until then, I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you very much. I am very concerned about the protection and conservation of the Surrey countryside estate, both land publicly owned and land managed under access agreements. How can each site be properly protected against damage, fires, fly tipping and other kinds of antisocial behaviour without rangers who know the site and what is going on? How can the land be properly conserved without funding put aside to manage it? I think that's Natalie, isn't it? Go ahead, Natalie.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your question. The Surrey Countryside Estate came back actually to be administered and run by Surrey County Council this year. Surrey Wildlife Trust still have some agreements with us, and they're looking after the biodiversity on the land. The Surrey County Council itself are now have control back again of the whole estate. So we're putting in a number of measures. We're employing more rangers. So you'll see more people out and about on the land. We're putting in some big changes. We'll be doing upgrades of car parks. We're putting in new picnic benches. And we realised sort of under COVID exactly how much our residents really appreciate our open areas. I know what we need to do is we need to get the land to be more accessible to families, because at the moment we don't get so many families using it. We don't get so many younger people using it. So we really need to make the whole area more attractive. But it's a jewel in our crown here in Surrey, is the countryside, and we are here to look after it. And we're investing a lot of money. We're putting in new wayfinder signs, new posts, new notice boards, so everybody can have a look and see exactly what you've got on your doorstep that is now back under our control. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I'm going to read out one more question now, because quite a lot of the questions that I've got in, I was just having a look through, we've already answered. So I'm going to read one more, which is, have Surrey County Council considered the traffic impact and the environmental impact of a surge in diesel lorries going to and from Eco Park in Charlton Village? Have the implications of these on schools been considered, as well as the heavy traffic to and from approved gravel pit excavation in Shepperton? I think, is that you again, Natalie? It is, isn't it? Go ahead.
Yeah, it certainly is. When the planning permissions were granted, part of the planning permission would have taken into consideration the traffic movements to and from mineral extraction pits and the eco park. I am aware my postbag has been very, very busy over the last few days, because there was a cabinet paper today about the eco park, and I have replied to everybody that has emailed me, but I would like to get across to the residents of Spelthorne, because it principally is about, you know, it does affect the residents of Spelthorne, that we're really concerned about this project and the delay to the project. And I want to confirm that the eco park is only ever going to move into operation and be accepted by the council if it passes a thorough series of tests to prove its operation is safe and reliable. And just to let people know that we are working very hard to push Suez on a number of issues. I'm aware that there was some problems with smells, and there's some problems with alarms going off throughout the night. And I'd encourage residents of Spelthorne to report this into the Environment Agency, as well as ourselves, as well as Suez, so we can take those forward for them.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Natalie. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you to the Cabinet for taking the time to take part in this. I think that digital engagement is something that is going to become a lot more prevalent going forward. I know it's one of the priorities of the council. So thank you for putting yourself under in the firing line to answer these questions. And we'll be doing one of these again very soon. So do keep an eye out on our Facebook page for that. So thank you very much to all the Cabinet.